Hi there, Joel from Jonesy's, and this is going to be part 4 of our Land Rover Defender 90 LS NV4500 swap. Make sure you've checked out part 3 so you know exactly where we left off, and stick around for all of the awesome updates we have to show you next.
Before we could continue on and pull the body, we had to mock up the external roll cage. Here you can see kind of those details. And in doing so, we checked out the top fasteners and realized we could delete a lot of the snap holes in the side of the body. So we welded those up, removed all the taillights, got all the wiring, the old wiring pulled out, and continued on just detailing all of the installation of the weather strip so we know exactly how that's supposed to go back together when we get to it. We then rigged up a spreader bar and a bunch of straps and pulled the body and uncovered a lot of rust. Floor pans, below the windshield, all of that's going to have to be addressed. But moving forward, we put it up on the forklift and degreased and pressure washed and degreased some more. We got the underside of the body looking really good now. So we were able to do a light wire wheel on it and clean it up. And then it was time to switch over to the chassis. Pulled the engine and transmission that we used for mock-up on all the mounts and repeated the process. Cleaning, degreasing. And of course we uncovered more rust on the chassis that had to be dealt with. So we cut that out and welded in some new patch panels of some thicker material, as well as filled a bunch of holes that we don't need that were put in over the years. After that, we treated all the rust and coated it with some products that I'll go over a little bit later, and voila! Chassis looks amazing. We didn't go crazy disassembling it, but you know what? It's good enough for what we're going to be doing. We then switched over to the engine and transmission, split them apart, pulled the cylinder heads off, inspected all of the cylinders, took out all of the DOD lifters and the AFM lifters, got new head bolts, inspected the cylinder heads, looked at all the valves, all of that looks perfect, installed new head gaskets, took the oil pan off, cleaned the oil pan, inspected the bottom end, everything looks really good, installed a new oil pump pickup tube O-ring, and then torqued the cylinder heads back on and got it all assembled. Masked it all off so we could paint it, cleaned up the transmission and the adapter plate, making that stuff look really good. Same treatment for the LT230 transfer case. And then it was finally time to spray out a color sample. So here you can kind of see the color match that we did for the single stage. And then we primed, sealed, and coated the engine, transmission, transfer case. And by this time, it was super exciting because we were able to start bolting on all of the jewelry and making this thing look really, really nice. With everything set back in the chassis and looking really good, it was time to move on to the next phase.
You can see we have it all detailed up, and we coated the chassis with some awesome products. I'll give you a little more details. I alluded to those in the kind of the photo montage, but you guys are probably asking, well, what is this stuff here? Well, that is an interior frame coating. We used cavity coater. It works really, really well. We like to use it on all of the boxed in frames like this. And it's pretty cool. It comes with a rubber tube or a plastic tube with a wand and a nozzle on it, and you poke that wand in there, and then you pull the trigger, and then you pull the wand out, and it coats the interior of that frame with rust preventative products. Going back to a little bit more of what we did for the chassis prep, we first obviously we pressure washed the heck out of it, but then we coated it and we sealed it with some KBS Rust Blast. This stuff kind of neutralizes the rust and the surface rust that we couldn't get cleaned off. And then after that, we coated it with the Rust Seal. So this chassis was not completely disassembled. All the individual pieces were not taken apart. I didn't see any real need to go down that far, and I knew we would get good enough results with just using degreaser multiple times, pressure washer multiple times, and then wire wheeling and then coating things with good quality products. Now, we didn't just leave it with the rust seal. Rust seal really is kind of a primer. We coated it with a single stage satin black on top of it, so that this chassis finish should be very durable, last a long time, and be good, provide really good service. As far as where we're at with the engine, right now we're mocking up all of the wiring harness, getting it all modified. We obviously, you can tell we talked about reversing the intake manifold. We went to ICT Billet, got the Valley-Pan block-off plate that's O-ringed for this engine, and it eliminates the oil pressure sender. We also went to ICT Billet and got the oil pressure adapter for the bottom right there. You can see the factory sensor is installed, and then it also has provisions to use our sending unit for our autometer gauges. So we opted to color match everything. I just thought that contrast with that black looks really, really good. We've made all of the accessories blacked all that stuff out so that, again, we have nice contrast with that Arliss blue. And I think this whole entire transmission engine assembly package looks amazing sitting in here. So I'm really, really pleased with the progress that we've been able to make over the last couple months, and looking forward to making the body as nice as the rest of the chassis. So what is next for the Defender? Well, you can see we have a lot of rust we need to get resolved on the floor pans. We also have quite a bit of work still to do on the firewall. We need to take this heater box out, detail it, put in a new heater core, put in a new blower motor, as well as take apart the brake booster, get all of that stuff cleaned up in preparation for paint. So this body is pretty flimsy. That's why we ended up adding quite a bit of cross bracing support, as well as welded a main support brace across the front on the mount, and then attached it to some stands. It is pretty flimsy when it is not attached to the frame. So here you can see this is a metal cap, and these were all spots where there were snaps. And the new top that we've already mocked up has a retaining channel that goes underneath that. So we wanted to fill all those holes, and then obviously remove all of the clips and such for the new top. Now, body work wise, what we've decided to do is we are going to keep it, we're not going to go with the Monchliner or the texture or the Raptorliner on the exterior. It is going to be shiny, smooth paint. We're not going to go crazy on body work, because that's kind of a waste of time when you have all of these exterior exposed seams as well as rivets. But we are going to fix some of the obvious dents and dings and things like that, so it's going to look really nice when it's all done. As for the interior, this back panel, we're going to strip all this paint off, get this all cleaned up inside here, and then this will be coated with the tintable Raptorliner in the Arliss blue. So we're going to tint the Raptorliner and coat all of the interior panels with the Arliss blue Raptorliner, as well as the back bulkhead here and the firewall and floor pans once we get those all repaired. In addition, the underside, since we got it all cleaned up, is going to be coated in the tinted Raptorliner as well. So we'll redo all of the seam sealers in here and get this looking so that it looks just as good as the chassis. So that's going to be the plan forward for the body. We're waiting on some parts to come in from Rovers North to move us forward on this rust repair stuff. And so when those come in, the focus is going to shift away from the chassis and onto the body. So please subscribe to the channel and post your comments, and thanks for watching.